like wet cement. Whatever falls on them makes an impression. I'm going to persuade you that there are damaging effects from spanking and that there are other alternatives. For those of you who accept spanking and see it as beneficial, I hope to show you the effects of spanking and other positive guidance discipline strategies. For those of you who agree with me, I will give you more information to use when persuading others. I was spanked as a child. I'm an early childhood education major, and I have taken classes in child development and guidance. To help expand my knowledge, I have researched many websites, articles, and read textbooks. Today we are going to talk about the physiological and emotional effects of spanking, discipline alternatives, and how using those alternatives will decrease the lifelong effects of spanking. The first is physiological and emotional effects of spanking. There are short-term effects. When a child is spanked, his or her limbic system, which is the emotional center of the brain and the part of the mind that mediates learning and understanding, goes into alarm mode. So the child's brain clearly perceives spanking as an occasion of danger. Spanking may reduce the brain's gray matter, which is right here. So spanking reduces gray matter, which is a part of the central nervous system, and it is the connective tissue between brain cells. It influences intelligence, testing, and learning abilities. Children and adolescents subjected to child abuse and neglect have less gray matter than children who have not been abused. And this is from psychologytoday.com, last accessed on February 12, 2012. The prefrontal cortex, which is right here in front of the brain, is the center of reason and judgment. So when a child is spanked, the prefrontal cortex shuts down, and a child's behavior during and after a spanking is not thoughtful behavior, it's reactive, and that is from handinhandparenting.org. A lot of you say that spanking gets quick results, and it restores the child. This is a slippery slope argument. So though a spanking may result in a quieter, more cautious child for a few hours, that apparent peace has a high price. A child's sense of safety, and with it his ability to reason, to cooperate, and to learn, and to trust are all eroded with every spanking. So is a child's openness to love from his parent. And that is from handinhandparenting.org. We have looked at short-term effects. Now I will talk to you about the long-term effects. First, when you spank a child, you are telling that child that you accept that behavior and they accept the violence. Mothers surveyed in 20 cities where their children were both 3 and 5 years old, nearly half, 45.6%, reported not spanking their 3-year-olds in the previous month, and 27.9% reported spanking once or twice that month, and 26.5% reported spanking more than twice. That is a statistic breakdown. As 5-year-olds, the children who have spanked were more likely than the non-spanked to be defiant, demand immediate satisfaction of their wants and their needs, become frustrated easy, have temper tantrums, and lash out physically against other people and animals. And that is from time.com, last accessed May 2010. Spanking hinders the child-parent relationship. Because the parent ultimately wants to gain this control, it creates a wedge of fear and resentment between parent and child. According to handinhandparenting.org, the more time a child spends with his mind shut down by the fear response, which is in the limbic system of the brain, because of the physical attack, the more reactive his behavior comes. A vicious cycle results. A fearful child becomes aggressive or withdrawn. The child spanks in response. The child becomes even more frightened and withdrawn and loses control of his behavior more often. We have looked at the physiological and emotional effects of spanking. Now let's talk about other discipline alternatives. Before I ever look at misbehaving behaviors, I always look at, is the child getting what their wants and needs? Are they getting their wants and needs met? And establishing rules and consequences are very important. Explaining and reasoning, giving choices as often as you can, praising good behaviors, and being good role models for children. One way to not be a good role model is by spanking your children because they see it as you accept that kind of behavior. We have looked at some discipline alternatives. Now we will talk about how the lifelong effects of spanking decrease. It prevents child abuse prevention. Spanking desensitizes children, causing the parent to hit harder. Every time you spank your child, that child is more or less sensitive to spanking. So it desensitizes children. And as you can see, this is a brain. This is a normal brain, and this is an abused brain. And you can see the damages on the temporal lobes. Spanking will decrease the effect of the cycle of corporal punishment. When your parents spank you, then you're more likely to spank your children. And when you spank your children, they're more likely to spank their children. So it's this cycle that starts. And we need to end that cycle. Also, we will have a less abusive society. Children in more than 20 countries are growing up without being hit in homes, in daycare or in schools. Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Australia, Finland, and other countries that have banned corporal punishment of children have low rates of interpersonal violence compared to the United States. And that is from www.stophitting.com. I have shown you the facts and effects of using physical punishment and hopefully persuading you to choose other positive discipline strategies. As I said before, children are like wet cement. Whatever falls on them makes an impression. What impression do you want to make in a child's life? Grab a balloon, and you will be up, and away with other alternatives. And remember, spanking is one step closer to child abuse.